Call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Shrewsbury Housing Authority, July 2019 meeting. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll try to speak up because I know that's a common problem. We'll start with the minutes from the last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
I make a motion that we approve the June 19 minutes as printed.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you very much. We'll look at the bank balances now and the treasurer's report.
Bank balances look great.
The balances look good. Are we using some of that for some of these projects? No? Okay. All right, so that's good. Okay, so we'll get into the, anybody have any questions about the bank balances? Okay, so we'll get into the revolving account, vendor accounting check register.
Just had one question, Mr. Chairman, on the new water heater. What location was that at? There was a new water heater put in?
Is that Francis Gardens? Because I saw that, that's
I feel like we
that,
talked about that last week.
yeah, that's that,
Is that the one?
that was that Cassavant bill?
Yes.
What's the
Trying to
number?
find
I
Anyone have the
thought,
number?
I thought we've seen, I
1918.
thought we've seen that before. Eugene Cassavant, 667-1.
Yeah, I see.
It's Francis Gardens.
Yeah,
Okay.
But I
so,
feel like we talked about this last month.
and I thought we already did this.
This could be,
Okay, while she's looking for that, any other questions?
No?
I note that the two landscaping companies were split up and equally divided between here and other facilities for two contracts, as we discussed at the last meeting. And I also note that the bills are rather large this month.
Yeah, because two big ones, the retirement and
Yep.
the health insurance,
Health
life and health
insurance.
insurance.
Yep.
One was 40, one was 130, so that's half the overall bills.
Yep,
More than half, in fact.
yep. When we talk about fish,
yes,
what are we talking about?
that is formula funding for all state projects.
Okay. And that Graves Engineering fish bill,
Is for the paving
that's for the paving
at Elizabeth Street.
at Elizabeth Street. So,
That is just the construction
that's the engineering.
engineering,
That's,
yes.
okay. Part of the process that we go through before we can actually hire the.
Spend the money.
Yes.
This is the money we spend in order to spend the money.
Right.
While we're talking about spending money, I will tell the board on the record that I successfully reinstated and reauthorized Kelly on the system that you love, Mr. Chairman, the ELOC system. So we should be good for whatever it is, 90 days or something like that.
If I never have to do that again, I'll be very happy.
That's why I said it on the record, because we talked about that it's a one-off that I'm doing it, but
Right.
as long as we're transparent, that's
Right.
fine.
And speaking of, if we can go back to the question of fish, or the talk about fish, Robinson Green Beretta Corp., is that also a design bill?
What check number is that?
That is 19216. It's $1,000.
What was the amount on the CASA?
3,188.
This is it.
Okay.
This is it. It looks to be in order, I just have deja vu, like we talked about it last month,
Right.
but I could be wrong.
I don't have anything in my notes about it.
How many of these water heaters do we have in Francis Gardens?
We always have to keep one in stock if one goes down.
Yep,
And each building has a water heater.
this size?
Yes. They go underneath the stairs, they're an awkward.
Oh my God, I feel like I remember this year, I feel like you said that last week.
We can hold on to it and then I can ask Gary about it and get back to everyone.
I mean, I can't say with certainty, Mr. Chair.
Well, and in light of the fact that there's one in every building, this could be another one. So, I mean, I suggest that we.
What I can do,
We can approve it,
because
subject
we're
subject to her
electronic,
checking on it.
is go to the June check run online, hold on. Oh, what a great idea to go to the iPads, hold on, there it is.
It's for stock. This is for stock.
Replace.
This is to keep one on hand.
No,
So that's the cost of the hot water heater itself.
okay. Thank you.
If you look at Gary's explanation.
The water heater.
I knew I saw stock and I said, what's that mean? So if you're telling me that we keep one in stock.
We
then
do.
That's what that means. Okay,
And you asked about Robinsons?
I did. I'm assuming that's some other design build. It's an even number, so,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
may I address?
yes.
We had a decent-sized plumbing bill for about $1,000 last month for G&L Plumbing. I'm only going to assume that we asked what that was for. She said it was for the installation of the new heater, which would have been the one that we had in stock, which would explain why this bill was here, and now why we're buying another actual heater and not the labor.
Right.
That would be my best recollection of connecting those two dots.
Right, and the other point I'd make is that in our rundown, it didn't say the company, it's just said the name. So
And that's why I'm saying this is the plumbing company
so
on this
that-
bill.
That threw me off. It's the actual company, not
So-
an individual.
Okay.
My
Okay.
guess would be that's what I'm remembering.
I would say that Gary's explanation says it's stock, so that would follow. Okay, anybody else have any other questions, comments, discussion on the bills? And it's a large amount. Can we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the bills as printed. Let me give you the number, I just gotta switch back to the right now. 247, 958, 62.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Okay, now we go to the portability check register.
I make a motion that we approve the two checks totaling $1291.80.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay, now the next one is the landlord and tenant check register.
Landlord tenant HAP totaling $114,009.52.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you very much. Now we go to payroll.
Make a motion to approve the monthly payroll as printed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Okay, we'll go to vacancy report.
No vacancies at the state.
No vacancies at all. Interesting, the numbers so far this year don't look so bad, knock on wood.
Jinx it.
Shrewsbury Towers,
We had 2 vacancies. The guys turned those apartments over within 14 days, and they have been rented by Jennifer for the 15th.
okay. So, and they're 2 new residents rather than, it's all brand new residents, right?
Yes. No transfers.
Yep. Section 8,
100%.
Good work. Good work, Kelly.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions on that?
No, sir.
Social service report. We can see that that's a little bit up this month.
If we recall, our new norm is around 30, so
Yes.
that's a big pickup.
That's a big pickup. Anybody have any questions, comments, discussion on that?
Is she still splitting her time between
Various
various
places?
places?
Yes, she was doing full-time at each of the sites. Those have been split. Now she's doing 9 to noon at Francis Elizabeth, and then she's coming back to the towers to do bookkeeping.
Okay.
Okay. So, that's probably why it's up a little bit.
And with the new CHAMP application, I did print a copy to show everyone. It's a big, thick application now. It used to only be like 4 pages, but since the state took over the waiting list, and there's a lot of documentation that needs to be brought in.
Okay. All right. I know I went right through correspondence, Bill, without saying anything about it. Is there anything of importance there, Kelly?
There was no newsletter sent
There was no
out.
correspondence, that's why you went right through it, Mr.
I
Chair.
know. I was wondering what I missed. Apparently nothing. Do we have any old business? Paul?
If I may take the floor, Mr. Chair,
Mr.
for a
Kavanaugh.
moment. This committee is very much aware that a year and a half ago, plus or minus, I was appointed to sit on the Beal Reuse Committee. We hit our first real significant milestone last week, which was the formation of a printed memo of recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. And in fact, yours truly was the one that presented the recommendations to the Board of Selectmen for a couple of reasons. Mr. DiPaolo chaired the committee, which made perfect sense, much like Mr. Kane chairs the actual Beal Construction Committee. But when the Selectmen wanted to hear the recommendations from the Beal Reuse Committee, Mr. DiPaolo felt like it would have been a little odd presenting recommendations that he was also receiving. So he asked me to do that, and we did that. And you have a copy of the formal memo, and I trust that you can all read it. It's quite lengthy, but you know, it's a year and a half worth of work. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but with your indulgence, I might just spend a couple of minutes hitting what I perceive to be the high points, which is exactly what we did to the board. They had a copy of the memo as well.
Sure.
So the purpose of the memo was to make recommendations for the reuse of the Beal School lot at 1 Maple. The committee consisted of several people, a couple of outside people, a couple of inside, but specifically as far as this board is concerned, someone from the Housing Authority to make sure that, you know, possible housing uses were explored, and they were. We also were part of the committee worked closely with Mr. Cahill and Ms. Last, the town planner and town meeting. We also received a report from a consultant, Horsley Whitman and Ms. Claire O'Neill of Mass Development. We were awarded a grant, believe it or not, this small little committee, as part of the town center redevelopment, and we took that grant, and that grant went to generate a report about town center recommendations, and we folded those into ours. I'm skimming over, I'm already on page 2. Top of page 2, there's a final report dated May 28th, which anyone on this board or anyone in any board has access to, and that helped us. Again, we worked in collaboration with that committee. Bottom line is, I'll go into the bulleted sections, we made several recommendations. The key takeaway is the town does not want to own this land. The town wants it off the payroll. They want it on the tax roll. So with that in mind, we made several recommendations, and perhaps, you know, we wanted it to contribute to the economic vibrancy of the town. We wanted it to consider residency. We wanted it to consider the tax. We didn't want to restrict the tax parcel. We wanted an architecture design by review. We wanted to leave an adaptive reuse of the actual existing structure as an option, but we all believe it's highly unlikely that that'll come to that, but maybe the developers are more creative than we are. If you go to the top of page 3, we highlighted a bunch of design areas. We were intentionally very, very loose, and the selectmen were really thrilled with that, because we don't want to be too prescriptive. We don't want to spec a paperclip and order a paperclip. We want to spec something. We did use some comps, things like town centers like Wellesley or Concord, where you see mixed use, store, cafe, shop, retail, residents above, and things like that. We talked about doing that. We said that the Veterans Memorial is a somewhat of a sacred cow and that it cannot be significantly moved. If it has to be moved 10 or 20 feet to the left or the right, we would be okay with that, but it has to be, you know, substantially the same. In other words, it could slide towards Haskell and have an entrance be Haskell going around the monument, that would be okay. We talked about it should be located closer to the sidewalk. We felt strongly that it should have open space, and specifically, people familiar with that area, the back half of that is a ball field. We want some sort of path, green, open space. The idea being whatever goes in front may attract people from the neighborhoods. I think everyone's aware, I'm acutely aware of that neighborhood. The Wesleyan, the Knowlton area, so we wanted something that might be inviting, pathways and walkways. Parking, it does have to go into the RFP that it should be shared parking, so even if XYZ Redevelopment Corp builds it, the parking can't be restrictively exclusive to XYZ tenants. They have to be, you know, play well with others. We talked about site access and zoning, and then the last, which is probably the most important, we flat out are prohibiting certain uses, or not we are recommending that the RFP and the Board of Selectmen prohibit certain uses. They are large retail single story. The reason that's really significant to this committee, to this board, is that would not allow residential use, affordable or otherwise. When I say large single story, think about the classic example, not to pick on any national retailer, like a CVS, a giant one block CVS. We don't want something like that. We don't want a gas station. That's completely out. We don't want motor vehicle repair or display, meaning used car lot or car sale lot. Drive-through of any type, whether it be CVS or Dunkin' Donuts. No drive-throughs, because all of those would impact the committee's vision. No large-scale manufacturing or industrial, no storage, like easy storage type companies, no adult use, and no marijuana. Those seem prohibitive and exhaustive, but really it's just a tiny smattering of what is prohibited versus what could come. The next step is the town is going to get a grant to develop an RFP and push it out to the common. At that selectmen's meeting, this memo actually formally completed the use of the charter of the reuse committee. The selectmen asked if we would consider working with the consultant to do the RFP until it goes out to bid, just so the spirit of our recommendations carried through to the RFP. We unanimously said we would be glad to do that. So I felt this board was entitled to a little bit of a deeper dive because I was a member representing this board wearing two hats in that committee. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to give you that update.
Thank you, Mr. Kavanaugh, for participating and helping us with representation on that committee. Any questions? Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other old business? Kelly?
No.
Okay. New business? Kelly?
Is the FAS score. What FAS is, it just deals with this building. It's physical, financial management, capital fund.
It's a public housing assessment system.
Assessment. They come in, they look at everything, and then they grade me.
And you got graded.
I got graded.
And I congratulate you for being graded 97 out of 100. So that's the best score we've seen in years.
Thank you.
Not only is it a great score, it's significantly higher than two previous, what I thought were very good scores, which were 69 and 72. So
Right.
you're doing a great job, in my opinion.
And a lot has to do with my team of employees. They also should be recognized. So if you score low or high, you can be a high performer. If you score low, they take money away from us. The high performing hasn't come out yet, but being with 97, I think we'll get high performer.
They won't take money away from us.
They won't take money away.
Give us money.
Well, I don't know that they'll give us any more, but they won't take it away. Anybody have any questions about this system?
Just
or?
congratulations, Kelly.
Thank you.
And yes, congratulations, job well done, thank you. The next item is the resident survey.
A resident survey went out in 2016 from DHCD to the state tenants.
Some of you may remember.
155 Surveys went out, 93 surveys were completed, and basically, they asked all types of questions, how many years you lived in the apartment, do I do meetings, do I talk about the capital improvement plan, operating budget, annual plan, how safe you feel in your apartment, and then
How many times you asked for maintenance, how many
Maintenance.
times maintenance showed up? Interesting,
how safe they feel.
interesting answers.
And then they judged me against other small housing authorities, and I think we did okay. And it had to do with surveys being completed. And it compares answers to those from the entire state, from small local housing authorities.
So we slightly exceed the other housing authorities in the area.
Yes.
Again, congratulations. As always, there are some answers that give you some concern. I'm sure you've noted that.
I did.
And there's a little bit of disappointment there, but only because sometimes we can't make everybody happy. So I think though overall it's a decent result. Does this become public for you to put out somewhere, or?
They haven't made that note. I mean, I'm sure we can put it on the website. They're
That's a great
not,
idea.
Why don't you,
they're not requiring.
why don't you check and see whether that's allowed?
Okay.
I think that's a great idea. If this is truly a public document, I'd love to get this put up on the site.
Yeah. So that's good. Kelly, thank you very much. Nice job. Anybody have any other questions on that?
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just a question on, is there a plan to work on some of the areas that we do need improvement?
Yes, there is, especially with the budget. I bring the budget, they know what's coming up, like the parking lot. Elizabeth Gardens was very verbal about the parking lot and stuff like that. I will make it more that this is the budget, this is the capital plan. Maybe they just didn't understand when I'm presenting tons of documents, because there is a lot of documents.
Because
with
as I
that.
read this thing, it leads me to somewhat of a conclusion that she met with everybody. It clearly shows that people are saying, yes, she met with us.
Yep.
But 88 or 84% of the respondents said that they didn't understand the budget and didn't review the budget. So,
And the budget's always on TV with James
Yep.
also. So maybe,
and that could be an issue of interest as well.
Right.
That was
So-
my, rightly or wrongly, that was my conclusion.
Right, right. So although I think that shows an area where some improvement could take place, I think it's in the communications avenues,
Right.
Which is always important.
Right.
And I think that if there are any issues that this does give rise to, I think they're communications issues.
Right.
So, anything else?
Well, just, the other one that jumps out is felt they were usually or always treated with courtesy and respect. We're at 79%, the average is 88, so certainly I think that might be an area that needs to be addressed as well.
Sure.
yes.
That should be
Yes.
higher, in my opinion. At least consistent with the state, the other housing authorities, which are at 88% and 85% in the state.
85, yeah. Yep.
I agree with Ms. McSweeney.
Yep.
I don't see that as a unattainable goal by any means. I don't think we should dismiss it. I will confess that when I saw the 12%, that was where I focused, and I went to, must be a lack of interest. But I have no basis for that. That was just a hunch.
And that's not that far off from the others. The
Right.
small housing authorities are 17 and the entire state 16. So
Right.
that doesn't worry me as much as the one above felt they were usually or always treated with courtesy and respect. That to me is a bigger thing.
And I think that
Agreed.
though goes to that other point that I made, which is, you see, they knew the executive director held a meeting with residents, 64%, knew that, but how many actually attended or bothered to interact or discuss, I don't know. So, again, it goes to communication, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're 15%,
yes, there is
we're
room for
15%
improvement.
higher than the average in knew the meetings, but, 10% lower in the courtesy. So I think I agree with Mr. Sweetie.
And I know you're constantly working on that, but just felt I should point it
No,
out.
thank you.
Going into the services and programs category.
The job trainings, they were more interested in health and medical services. And we're working more on that of getting all the different, like Fallon, Navicare, more down there. Like in this building, we have the blood pressure clinics, that the Towers pays for that. With the other sites, it's just getting them there in more resident participation.
And then in maintenance repair, we certainly have a issue to some extent there with the plumbing, it appears,
Well, they're building.
which we've been dealing with and which has been a fairly constant issue for all of us.
Between those 2 years is when we had the whole heating system repaired.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
They did have water issues, they did have heating
Yeah,
problems,
that-
and they got a brand new heating system.
I don't dispute that, but I also very much attribute it to timing. I mean, I feel like we've done nothing but talk about plumbing and water issues for the last couple of years, so I totally, I'm not surprised by that at all.
Good. Okay, going through this, anybody have anything else they want to discuss?
No, sir.
We all set?
Yes. thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Kelly, and I'm sure that you will follow up.
I will.
Okay. What's next, Kelly?
Next is the DHCD wage match. This has been going on since 2016, and with federal residents like yourself, I get to go on REAC and pull down your Social Security or wages. With the state is a whole different, we get to go on DOR, Department of Revenue, and not the Social Security website. So I need an authorization from all the residents, all my employees for security reasons, and I need the chairman to sign off allowing us to go on and get wage reports.
Does that require a motion?
Yes.
Can I ask a question? Why do you, I understand obviously for the tenants why you would need that. Why for employees?
Good question.
So with employees, it's all confidentiality. So with employees who are going on, there's Social Security numbers, there's wages, it all comes down to security. So it goes from the employees who I'm responsible for, and then ultimately the board has to sign off. And you have been signing off for the past 2 years on this.
Mr. Former Chairman.
Yeah, exactly. I got that under the, I understood the subtlety of her comment. All right, I'm still a little,
Well, I think it's a disclosure and security safeguarding measure that they intend to let everybody be aware that, number one, the board had the authority, not the board, the authority has the right and is entitled to look into the background of individuals that either rent here or work here, for the various reasons that may be applicable to security and to perhaps honesty relative to income, relative to rent. So
yeah, the rent part I
that's
get
been-
all day long.
that's
It's
been done
the
forever.
employee part.
As far as the employee part goes, listen, I'm not clear on it either, but it's part of the regulations.
Yeah,
and-
if I've signed it for the last 2 years, I really can't push back now and say I don't understand why. It's certainly not on the record.
It also appears to be part of the regulations that DHCD
in the PIC notice 2019-16, acknowledged regarding confidentiality in the Department of Revenue. The state is much harder than the feds regarding going on. You just have to certify me to go into logs, into REAP,
Right.
where DOR,
Well, again, and I actually mentioned that 20 minutes ago, she is recertified. I think it's quarterly that I have to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, so
and you're doing a good job.
I'm just trying to help out Mr. Ricker to the best of my abilities.
Okay, other questions? If not, I think we need a motion to authorize our executive director to comply with the acknowledgement regarding confidentiality in the Department of Revenue information and DOR disclosure and security training for safeguarding information policy.
Can I simply say, so moved?
You may.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Kelly?
The last is the bids for the parking lot for paving, and that's for the federal here. 3 bids did come in. The lowest bid came in at $88,900, and that was Leone's Landscaping and Construction. The second bid came in at $137,898, and that was Cassidy Corporation. And the third came in at $171,700, and that was M. Neves Incorporation.
I have a
Big disparity.
Yes.
question and a comment, yeah.
Mr. Campanella first.
Okay, so first, I want to understand what the scope of the alternate is, what we would get if we added an alternate 1 to each of the 3 bids, number 1, before you answer that. Number 2, my question for the record is, I get nervous when I see such a disparity, meaning like 100%. The low bid is about half of the high and about 50% of the middle. So I understand the board will decide, and we typically go with low bid, but when it's so low, I wonder if there was a calibration issue or not.
Okay,
Those are my 2 comments.
let me answer that first,
Okay.
because I have a copy of the advertisement here. And the bids were due to be received on June 26th. In the advertising portion of this, they said that the estimated cost was $113,965. The scope of work is, the base bid pertains to the south side or the front side of the tower here. Out?
Are you looking at where are you?
No, I'm looking at the ad.
Yeah, that's what I am. Oh, up in the bold
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yep.
The base, okay.
All right, and the alternate includes all work on the back of the tower, which is behind me.
Okay.
All right? So, I mean, I think that's pretty straightforward.
All right, thank you.
I think that, so, although the bids are structured differently, I think you're looking at apples for apples when you're talking about the base bid. So, Ms. McSweeney.
No, my question was the same about base bid versus alternate, so you answered it, thank you.
Okay.
So I think that brings a question back to our executive director. Are we pitting out the bid the whole enchilada? Do you want the back done well, or just, what do we have money for?
I can answer that. We don't have money for the whole bid. We don't have money for both the front and the back. So my suggestion is to the board, after speaking with Kelly, my suggestion is that we deal with the base bid only tonight.
Great. But just the front.
Right.
Which is the front, yes.
Because we've been saving up now for 4 years for this, and we're still not enough to cover even the low bid for the base and the alternate, okay? If you
Yep.
combine them. So, suffice it to say, we don't have the money. All right?
Yeah, now,
So-
with that explanation, I feel my
And I think I can understand how
my
this
contractor
happened.
brain would say to number two, if we're gonna go, we're gonna go and do the whole thing, and we want the whole job, or we don't want half of it. That's how I now read number two. I now read number one as saying, we'll gladly take half the job and we'll double it if they want it. Number two was saying, if we're gonna go in there, we're gonna go in for the whole thing. They're actually discouraging bidding the alternate with that small dollar
Right.
value.
Right.
And number three, it's the same philosophy.
They're just out of whack.
higher, yes, okay.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
last year, all three bids came in around 170, you know,
Okay.
and it was later in the season too.
All right, yeah, so it seems like Ms. McSweeney and myself have the same question,
So I think the bottom line is that at this stage, we have a low bid. Unless anybody has any questions, comments, or any reasons for not accepting the low bid, I would take a motion.
If we're all agreed?
Yes. Yep.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we accept the low bid, bidder number 11977, without the alternate for 88.9 even.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, before we move on past,
Yes.
past paving,
Yes.
I'm going to ask the question, which I know would be coming if we were in a different facility. Elizabeth Street has been asking for paving for a long time. I know
Yes.
it's a money thing, but maybe for the record, if you could talk about.
I just spoke with DHCD today. So they were asking about, they're doing 6 additional ramps, and also the fencing. So that is in the works. They just move a little bit slower than the feds do.
Okay.
But that is in the works, and I expect that to be done by the end of this year.
Excellent. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That is our expectation. Does anybody else have anything, Kelly, do you have anything else?
I do not.
All right, does anybody else have anything that they want to say or comment on before we open this up for?
No, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do. Can we just get back to
You gave it
the
up.
state
Wait
application?
till next month.
I did find it, and I just want to show people that
What is
it's
this?
18 pages long.
Oh, this is this is getting back to Shirley and the discussion of why people need to talk to her.
So with the federal application, people can come in, it's still local preference, people who work in the town of Shrewsbury. With the state, they went to the common housing application called CHAMP. Every housing authority in the state of Massachusetts has to use this. It's 18 pages long. If an applicant comes in, we help them fill it out. The veterans, the homeless, get housed before our local tenants do. And all us housing authorities are frustrated sometimes because we want to help our local residents. And they're jumping over these people. But the application process is very, very difficult. So if people need help from the outside to come in, we have our receptionist who will help you, or Shirley or myself help you fill out this application. And we have 2 computers because they want everything online.
So you have to apply online.
Yes.
Another handicap for people. Yes.
Is there a set time that they should come? Should they call ahead to make an appointment, or how does that work?
8 to 4, we're here.
8 to 4. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And that's generally why Shirley's visits have picked up.
Yes, there's so much that needs to be sent out. If someone comes in regarding homelessness, we have to send to the shelters. The shelters have been trained on this CHAMP application also. We have to verify them, but in a lot of shelters, we could pick them this week, they could be in another shelter next week. So we're chasing applicants also. They can also apply from every single housing authority in Massachusetts that has a state public housing. With that, I could be working on somebody for Francis Gardens or Elizabeth Street or our family units. and somebody from Auburn Housing Authority could have the same person. So we're fighting for them also. So that takes up time. They're estimating that it should take at least 30 days for an applicant to be, from the time we select them to be in-housed. It used to be, we only had 15 days. Now they extended it to 30.
Does anybody have any questions on this?
No.
All right. Is there anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Very informative. At this point in the meeting, we open it up for discussion with our residents and friends. Does anybody out there have anything they'd like to talk about this evening? Yes, Al?
Yes. We've been having a lot of problems with, and we hear it all the time at every meeting, that you're gonna do something about them. The wash machines and dryers are always breaking down and taking a long time for them to come in and fix them. What can be done on this? I mean, but sometimes they're waiting 3 days, 4 days, a week. They're not coming in and fixing these. Is there any other way you can change
Well, we have,
this?
I think we have a contract.
We do have a contract. So 2016 till 2026.
So-
10-year
So
contract.
I think in light of the delays in repairs, if that's what's
Yes.
occurring, we need someone to review that contract.
They did. So with Mac
Gray.
Gray, they came in and they wanted an increase, and I said, absolutely not. So they wanted to charge you guys more. And I said, no. I said, these machines are always breaking. And what I told him was, there's a number right on there. I said, I'm gonna keep having the residents. So if there's a machine down, and say it's on the weekends, keep calling. Keep calling them, but also let me know.
When's the contract till?
26.
Phew.
Yes.
I think that's a major part of the problem. People will not call. They'll come out and stand around and say, this machine is broken. And I said, well, did you call? No. And I said, well, you know, they don't want to call. They don't feel it's their responsibility.
This issue was happening up at Francis Gardens also. And I talked to a few people up there, and I told them, there's a number right on there. Just call. Every half an hour, keep calling. Somebody will get.
The machine's been down now, it's unplugged. That's been down all week. 2
And-
weeks. 2 weeks.
And this was the
And
first
they've
time.
been calling, the residents have been calling, I know that, and no one's responding to come down and fix them.
Okay, well, I'm assuming this is the first time you've heard this?
I did this week, yes.
Oh, it is?
It is, I'm sorry, Al. It
Okay.
is.
So, Kelly will follow it up, and we're gonna take a hard look at the contract and see whether there's something that we can do about it. All right?
Yep.
So we'll report back at the next meeting, which I think it'll probably be in September at this stage, but
It's okay.
but I think Kelly can probably get back to you before then.
Yes.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you. No, that's the type of stuff, Al, that we need to know about. Obviously, this is, you know.
I mean, they
Yeah.
keep complaining about it, so I said, I'll say it at the meeting, no one wants to
No, I,
come
They
up
haven't
and speak.
tried.
we appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I have called for a resident about the plug, the same thing that Al was telling me about. Yeah, I plugged it in to see if it was something to do with the timing on the machine, and it wasn't. So they said to me, go to your office and complain to your office people about the washing machine. I said, I'm doing an elderly a favor because she had her wash in the machine and it broke. So she couldn't open up the door to get it washed out. What do you do with the elderly? I'm here, I just moved in, okay? And I'm not gonna be a stick about it, but I'm trying to be nice enough to help the residents what they need to be helping with, okay? Because I like to, that's what I do, okay?
Yep.
I like to help the people. Kelly knows that I'm really helpful in this community. And another thing I have an issue with, the garbage in the back. Why are people throwing furniture in the back? Where do they throw the furniture if they need to throw their old furniture that they don't want? Okay, a guy struggles with his furniture. Somebody was nice enough in here to help him bring a couch downstairs. Where do you dispose any old furniture in here? It's always looking like a junkyard in the back here with anybody's furniture. I can see it through my apartment because I live in the back. And I can hear people just throwing couches, chairs, mattresses. It looks like a pigsty.
Kelly?
What do you do?
They're allowed to throw their furniture in there. I would rather them throw their furniture and the maintenance disassembles it and throws it in the dumpster instead of leaving it in the hall.
You can't throw it in the dumpster because the dumpsters are always closed. Locked.
Instead of leaving it in the halls or leaving it in the back where somebody, it could be a fire hazard. So they are allowed to bring it down, maintenance disassembles it, and they throw it in the dumpster.
So they leave their furniture in the maintenance room?
They bring it towards the dumpster more. Gary,
In the
George,
back of the
Stephen.
dumpster.
If it's there, they'll disassemble it, throw it in the dumpster.
All right.
I mean, this is operational, but I'd rather see it there than somewhere else. I mean, I'd rather see it get 90% of the way there and out of a building and
Sure.
in an area. That's my opinion. It's
Sure.
Kelly's call. But
Sure, I mean, it's always a hard thing to get rid of old furniture, I can tell you that. But I think Kelly has just explained that if it's left close to the dumpster, they'll take it apart and put it in the dumpster.
Yes, or even if it's in the hall or whatever, the guys bring it down.
Okay. Okay. So I don't think we're gonna make you happy on that one, but I think, yes, ma'am.
What if someone has a heart condition and they need their furniture moved? Could we have somebody come up and help them remove it?
Well, our maintenance people have actually gone into hallways and taken furniture from hallways.
He struggled with a friend of his helped him. He had a condition. He struggled with somebody else to bring that couch downstairs.
Okay, well, if he had talked to someone in the office or the maintenance staff, I'm sure that they would have helped.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think the issue here, for me at least, is that we don't have town pickup. So like if you have a piece of furniture that you can bring to the curb and you throw a $10 bag on it, you're all set.
Right.
You know, you make it one both ways. So that's, that's difficulties I've seen over the years. But I have actually myself removed a lot of stuff from the fourth floor trash room. Took a lot of old TVs and stuff. They're impossible to give away.
Oh, there's no question about it.
It's very difficult. But,
Well, that is a
appreciate
problem
that the
because
guys do that.
that is a problem because we are not serviced by the town of Shrewsbury. We don't have the availability of the town trash pickup here. So we have to make do, and it's our hope that the maintenance is cooperative, which we believe they are. So,
I just put a couch out here the other day, which I shouldn't have attempted to do, and I was making some phone calls to get rid of it. I had to get it out to get the new one in. There was just no extra room. And by the time I got someone on the phone to take care of it, it must have been the guys here had already taken care of it.
Good.
I'm deeply appreciative.
good. See? So it worked out.
Yeah.
Good.
Like you said, it's better than leaving it in the hallways.
Right. Yeah, because that's a safety hazard.
Right.
So I think they're constantly monitoring that, so. Anybody else? Can we give someone else a shot first?
Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I have a problem that I've been telling you since I moved here, which is not been resolved.
I can't hear you, ma'am.
We need you to speak up.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a problem that I've been dealing with since I moved in here last September. It has not been resolved. And I want to know, what does a tenant have to do to solve the smoke issue.
Um,
I'm exposed to secondhand smoke on an ongoing basis. I work through what I feel is the appropriate channels. I reached out to the board via email, I'm not sure that was received or not, because I never received acknowledgement. But, based on posting in the lobby that it's illegal to smoke in this building, I don't think any tenant here, resident I should say, should have to deal with something like this. And the people that live beside me they smoke on a daily basis before the office opens, after the office closes, and then all week at home. And my apartment smells dirty. That's not, in my opinion, acceptable. I would expose my neighbors to that, and I don't know why I'm being exposed to that.
Well, I'll take a stab at this. I think the problem of smoking in this building continues to be a problem. Kelly and the staff have been trying to deal with it. We have a number of court cases that have been initiated that are ongoing at this time. And we're trying to deal with it in the legal way to deal with it. There's no other way we can deal with it, unfortunately. One problem that we have is, although we have this policy, sometimes the courts are reluctant to actually displace someone and tell them to move out based on, and I don't mean to minimize it, but based on just the fact that they're smokers. So we're battling it in several different ways, and I'm sorry that you're experiencing this, but unfortunately, we would have liked to think that common courtesy would have played a role here. We would have liked to think that playing by the rules would be important and be abided by, but we all know that there are some people that will not go by the rules and will not abide by the rules and the law as we put it down. So I think Kelly's doing the best she can. I think that, as I say, I think we have 3 or 4 court cases ongoing right now that are testing the waters, so to speak, to see whether or not the courts will work with us to solve your problem and the problems that other people in this facility and other facilities that we operate are faced with and are dealing with. I sympathize you, and I'm sorry about that, but I don't know that she can do any more than that, because as you know, legally, it's not like we can just pick these people, their furniture up and put them out on the steps. We can't do that. We have to abide by the law, and we have to go through the courts. And unfortunately, some courts are not necessarily or readily or at this point accepting this as a reason for eviction. So we're testing those waters.
I would really like to see people just follow the rules.
We would all like to see people follow the rules. I wholeheartedly, I think we all agree with you 100%.
I don't want to put someone out on the street, but I don't violate any of the provisions of the lease, and I respect the law, I respect my neighbors, and that just doesn't seem to apply. I've never lived in public housing before, so this is completely foreign to me, but at the same time, in spite of everything that you say, things continue to go on and on and on.
This is becoming a problem in private housing as well. This is becoming a problem in condominium complexes that are passing these types of rules. Everybody is at the beginning of this process to see whether or not, how far can you go with these complaints. So I'm sorry to say that you're going to have to bear with us a little bit, because we're doing the best we can in that avenue. Sir?
Yeah, at one point there was discussion about using some sort of smoke detectors.
Yes, we have been told that we cannot use our funding for that.
Okay.
So it's been, although we voted to move forward with that, we were refused the appropriation to do it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am?
I got a question. What if you're in your apartment and you fall, okay? And you can't get to the phone, and you can't call the ambulance, how are you going to prevent that? Where are you to live? You have post trays. Okay, I know the handicapped people have post trays. Say if I fell right now, then there was nobody around me, okay? Who do you, and I can't get to the phone, who do you call?
Well, we are not a rest home and we are not a nursing home, okay? This is a residential facility where you are all residents and you...
Non-assisted.
And it's not an assisted living facility. So if you have a need that requires you to have one of those help buttons, then you should do so. You should take those steps yourself, because we expect that you're able to live here on your own with obviously the assistance of your relatives and friends, but we are not capable and we don't have the facilities nor the staff to you know, check on you every day and to make sure that you haven't fallen. I'm sorry, it's not something that we can do. And it's not the type of housing that we are. So, yes, ma'am.
Why can't the people who are blatantly disregarding the smoking issue be fined every time there's a complaint?
Because they wouldn't pay it.
They could get a
Well, that's just another way of trying to evict them, and I think that we might get in trouble with the law if we tried to use that avenue. That is, you know, the people that are residents here, many of them are subsidized, many of them are low income. That, in my opinion, would maybe be considered somewhat discriminatory, using fines to get them out of here. So I don't think that that's the proper way to go. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? I think that, I mean, the fact is that they're breaking the rules. And the fact is that we're moving on that basis.
Right before we moved in here, one of the main highlights is this is a non-smoking facility. And it's just not.
We understand.
Nobody's doing it, the government ain't doing nothing about it. I mean, so where do you go?
Well, we're trying. We're trying. We've got new lawyers that are working on it as well. So we have been working on it, and Kelly has been working with actually new counsel to try to deal with this. So we're trying to get there. But it really has to be done in accordance with the law. Yes, ma'am.
That's the question.
Sure.
The people that are breaking these rules as far as always smoking, are they confronted about it, or is
Yes.
it just?
Yes, Kelly could probably answer that better than me, but my understanding is that they have been given a number of warnings, and based on the number of warnings is why there are court cases that are presently being initiated and pending. In some cases, it's gone far beyond the 3-strike rule, okay? But it's our hope that perhaps the courts will pay attention to that. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I have one more question. I moved in here May 15th, okay? And somebody from me came up to my apartment, knocking on my door. I addressed the issue with Kelly, knocking on my door saying, your boyfriend is smoking in the apartment, okay? I said, no, it's not. I can vouch, these residents can vouch. Every day he goes out, even Kelly can vouch for me that he is smoking outdoors, not in the apartment. Some lady said to me the other day, she came back up again, and she said to me, your boyfriend is still smoking in the apartment. I'm gonna go and fix that little wacky. That's what she said to me. I'm getting sick and tired of people coming to me and telling me that my boyfriend, my poor boyfriend, with heart condition, he goes outdoors and smokes every single day. Kelly sees it all the time.
Do you want to say anything about this?
That's harassing.
Every time that person make a journal, that person comes and knocks at your door, and then leave the little notes underneath my door, and the attorney that I've been working with for almost a month now will get those notes.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Those notes have to include dates and times.
Times.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, let me just say, once again, thank you for having us here tonight at the Towers. We will not be meeting, I don't think, next month at the Francis Gardens, will we?
I'd like to discuss that or bring it up. We
All
can
right.
do it on or off the record. This board traditionally, at least the last 4 or 5 years, has not met in August, especially given the lateness of the July meeting and the high cost of the July billables. My personal recommendation would be that we could probably take August off, and if the executive director needed key checks signed, subject to approval following the meeting, I'm sure some constituency of this board could accommodate that, including Section 8. So that would be my opinion. I don't want to speak for the board.
I agree with that.
I think that in light of the late meeting this month, the fact that we've covered an awful lot of the payables in this round, and the fact that August is routinely, July and August are routinely slow in this regard.
I mean, we were so late in July, and we were
Right.
so heavy on the bills.
Right.
I can't imagine she can't put people off, and if there's an exception, we'll handle
And
it.
if she needs us, then she.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If there's an exception, we'll handle it.
Correct.
All right, so that having been said, for the record, I don't know the date of the September meeting, but we could do that.
Well, the August meeting was going to be August 13th,
Right.
so that will now,
September 10th is
The
the
second Tuesday, oh, Ms. McSweeney just beat me to it. The second Tuesday would be September 10th.
is everybody okay with
Fine
that?
with me.
For now,
Yeah.
for now.
For now.
We can leave it in if
I
we,
may have a conflict.
And we can,
but-
we'll accommodate if you
Yeah.
do. I mean,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll
because
look
we'll
for
have
sure.
time, we'll have plenty of
We
time.
have plenty of time so
Yeah.
far.
Where is that meeting going to take place?
That
Ms.
is-
McSweeney?
I'm pretty sure it's Francis Gardens, because Elizabeth would have been August had we met.
That would make sense.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure.
I
I
slipped,
will-
I slipped with the tongue, Francis Gardens, because I thought it was I thought it was Francis Gardens.
Oh,
but-
here's my
okay.
handy map.
I think it's
Um, Yes, Elizabeth, had we met, it would have been in Elizabeth in August. So September is here, I think.
Here.
Yeah,
Okay,
September's here.
September, Tower.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
why don't
Towers
we-
is January, April, June, September, December.
why don't we tentatively say September 10th here at 5:30, and subject to Ms. McSweeney's availability, we could all rally.
Or any of us,
Yeah,
or any of us,
yeah.
if anybody has a problem.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you.
Well, folks, thank you for having us again, and we look forward to seeing you again in September. We'll be back here, September 10th.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn, thank you.